What's happening, guys? Welcome to another eclectic edition of PWT Podcast. Yeah, I am your host, Phil Marks, and joining me today, Duke loves Wrasslin. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Yeah, I don't have my soundboard because we're on Zoom today. We had to switch things up. Duke, how are you doing today?
Phil, it is an honor to be here on Pro Wrestling Times. I know we had some technical difficulties on my side, which I apologize to the great fans, but we're here now, and I can't wait to jump in, brother.
Yeah, it's absolutely no worries. Guys, there'll be less soundboard shenanigans, so for those of you who get triggered by the air horns, have no fear because they're not here. So, but first I gotta do a little housekeeping. I gotta shout out my tribal chiefs and acknowledge them. Tyranitar J&D, Lincoln Hawk, Tom Reed, Donnie Soares, You Ain't Hype, Brody Campbell, Brad Becker, Jay Chase, Liam McBlain, Andre Adams, The Big KC, James Gonzalez, Savage Wrestling Podcast, LK, George Captor, Bocce Ball Pro, Scully Vibes, Gilgamesh, Jamie Earhart, Cruz Madrid, Derek H, and anybody I missed. I appreciate you all so much. You know where to find me. YouTube.com/@ProWrestleTimes. We're almost at 1,200 subscribers on that channel. Thank you so much. But the main channel is YouTube.com/@ProWrestle Clips, and we're almost at 4,500 subscribers on there. So thank you all so much for that. PWT Universe always shows up and shows out. Everybody's been anticipating this. You can find Duke Loves Wrasslin. That's the name of your show, right? And why don't you plug your X and all of that stuff, and then we'll just get into the thing, man.
Sure. At Duke Loves Wrasslin on Facebook, on Twitter, at Duke Loves Wrasslin @gmail.com. In addition to the Duke Loves Wrasslin podcast on my RSS feed, you also get Devon and the Duke, the new podcast series that I host with WWE Hall of Famer Devon Dudley. So certainly, folks, definitely check us out. We always have fantastic, insightful conversation. And on Duke Loves Wrasslin, I interview some of the top stars from yesterday, today, and tomorrow. You know, I love talking to the indie kids just breaking out of school, and also talking to the Hall of Famers and the legends. So definitely, it's a great listen. Check us out.
Yeah, and speaking of which, that's how I sort of discovered you, believe it or not. And then it just so happened I had our mutual bud, Marie Shadows, come on the program, on the podcast, and I had no idea you guys were friends like that. And yeah, she came on, put you over, and she's like, you should reach out to Duke and ask him to come on. And I was like, I would love that. Because yeah, I discovered you because Devon was shooting on Will Washington there. I guess he's just speaking his truth, and you were there as a part of it, and I played it on the pod. You had reached out and said, hey, thanks for covering that professionally. I was just talking shit. I'm not I was just making jokes and stuff. I don't really know. But we're going to play this clip, and let me know if you can hear this as well. We're going to play this clip for the good listeners, and then I just kind of want your thoughts on this, just follow up on it, and like your thoughts on like the attention this got, and also just, I guess, Devon's what he had to say. And of course, guys, go and check out Duke and Devon and Duke Loves Wrasslin. Of course, check it out from the source, but I'll just play you guys this clip again because it's rather interesting, and it sort of pertains to what's going on with the state of AEW right now. I must say, not to put it all on Will, but I mean, he was brought in for long-term storytelling. I'm not really seeing a lot of that. You know, they had the Elite invade the company, and then they just sort of dropped that whole. They just wrapped it up at Blood and Guts so we can get to All In. It seems like there's no real like focus on the long term, but either way, here's what Devon had to say about people tiptoeing around Will Washington. Here we go.
Tony Khan said that one of the dirt sheet writers confided in him that somebody from WWE PR floated this story, and it wasn't true, that AEW had an agreement in principle with WBD.
WWE is not worried about Tony Khan. I can tell you that right off the bat. They ain't worried about him. Tony Khan is too busy worried about WWE. Someone who I admire very well in this business that works for AEW is Swerve. Great guy, but I do know that his cousin, I think it is, who's a dirt sheet writer, who basically is in Tony's ear a lot, that might have been the one that basically
And so, like, by like Duke, we're not. You call it out too. You're like, hey, man, you're talking about obviously Will. Who else could it be, right? So it's pretty. It's not like Devon went and was like, man, screw Will Washington, but he put it out there, and it's kind of easy to figure out, do the math, and figure out who it is, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so here, we'll get the rest of this clip here, and then yeah, I want your thoughts.
Pretty much said that to him. If it was Swerve's cousin that said that to him, which probably was, as far as I'm concerned, from my understanding, from people in the locker room, the 3 times I was there in the meetings, every single person said he's a snake. And they don't know why Tony Khan is trusting him. I don't know him personally, but in what I've seen and his demeanor and all that, I got to tend to agree that they're probably right. He can write whatever he wants to say about me, but the bottom line is everybody in that locker room thinks that you're a snake. And if you're a snake, then if they think that, then chances are you probably are.
Swerve's cousin, I'm assuming you're talking Will Washington, who Tony Khan hired.
When I've asked the questions, who is that guy? I've gotten the same response from every.
I find that so funny. He's like, nah, I asked. I'm like, whose man's is this? That's what he said. He's like, I'm on the Jericho cruise, and I'm like, who's this motherfucker? I keep seeing him everywhere. I love that. I think that's hilarious.
Everybody. Even when I was on the Jericho cruise and his name came up, that was what was being said. And, again, I'm not going out there saying anything bad about him, but I'm telling you what the perception is about him within the company that he works for. And these are people that say,
Wow.
well, I'm nice to him because if I'm not nice to him, he'll go to Tony, say something, I'm off for TV. So I don't say anything.
Boom. And yeah, so shout out Devon, man, one of the goats. And he's just keeping it real. And then it sort of comes out Britt Baker suspended, and I'm hearing from people she told Will Washington to go fuck himself. Duke, your thoughts on all of this, the state of AEW, how Will Washington ties into it, yeah, and maybe some of the backlash you got about this clip.
Sure. I mean, again, let me start from the beginning here.
Yeah.
When I reached out to you and thanked you for your professionalism, it's because you did something that should be so standard, and unfortunately it's not, because you have a lot of unprofessional people within our wrestling media content creator space. They don't credit folks who originally create the media, right? Yeah. So you identified the show. You gave me props. Marie Shadows was on with you, and she highlighted that as well. And it was just all love. And it's very important for folks to understand something that simple that should be standard across the board. For some reason in wrestling media, that's not the case, because these folks are not legitimate media. They're goofballs. They're humanoids. They're not serious about doing the right thing. I don't have to like you to credit you for your work. And I don't have to like you to interview you. I don't have to like you to report on you. And that's just my stance on it. But that's because I'm actually media. This is media. This is a real thing that we're doing here. And when you start talking about some of these humanoids, which we're going to delve into who they are specifically soon, and certainly Will Washington is part of that group, they are completely against that concept. They can't wrap their head around it. In their opinion, you only have to interview your friends. You only give credit to your friends, and everybody else, you go out of your way to try to harm them. And it's ridiculous and it's embarrassing, because these folks have no power. And every time they think they're flexing, they find out very quickly how powerless they really are. So I want to start there. And again, I appreciate you for being as professional as you was. Yes, you were having a good time, but just crediting me for my work is a big deal. So I tip my hat to you, brother. Now, thanks. Couple things that I want to make clear here, and you're really the first place outside of my own platform that I'm having this conversation. It might be the only place, quite frankly, because I don't really care to give Will Washington more attention than he deserves. But I'll say this: Devon was given this information over an extended period of time. The information never changed. It's not like it just happened overnight. This is something that's been going on for about as long as Will Washington has been in AEW. Right. Because Devon, first of all, his sons at one point had a deal with AEW.
Right.
It was a low-level deal, but they had a deal because ultimately Devon found out they were trying to get Devon not only in AEW, but they wanted him to wrestle. And he's been having some serious back and mobility issues, so he could not do it at that time. And he made it clear he's not looking to wrestle. He'd rather have more of a backstage role. And their negotiations fell apart over a period of time because of that. Tony wanted him to wrestle. Devon was like, no, give me a backstage role. I can be more supportive in that way.
Duke, I don't mean to interrupt, and we got to keep, you're onto something here, but did they want like a Dudley Boy reunion? Do you know? Can you spill anything on that, or is that?
I can't speak to that.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
know. I don't know of any conversations with Bubba, but I will say, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I will ask Devon on the next episode of Devon and the Duke that'll come out this week. I wouldn't be surprised if you get one. Of course, you get that makes it a little easier to get the other, right?
Right, and they had the Hardys, and then Edge and Christian are there too currently. So,
Exactly. So that I'm sure they were going down that road. Yeah. So over a period of time, Devon was in AEW, showing up at events and having meetings and etc. So he got to observe things. He's also friends with Jericho, so of course he's been on the Jericho cruise and all that. Devon is a well-respected, mild-mannered kind of guy. Everyone loves him. Everyone speaks so highly of him. He's not a liar either, which everyone will tell you that who's ever interacted with the guy. He's a pretty straightforward man, right? So when he asks, who's this guy who keeps bopping around looking like he's so important or what have you, and people gave him the lowdown. He's a snake. We don't like him. He's Tony Khan's new assistant. He's Swerve's cousin. All he is a dirt sheet guy. So, we know he's leaking things to the dirt sheets because that's where he comes from. But we don't trust him because, he tries to tell us what to do. And then if we don't listen to him, then he goes and complains about us to HR and to Tony, and we get in trouble. So we can't trust him. He's a snake. This is not a one-time thing, and this is not one person telling Devon this. This is a abundance of people telling him this over a period of time. So here's the kicker. I did not know that Devon was going to bring this up on the show, right? Because we were talking about AEW and Tony Khan's job performance as a whole, and then Devon threw that in. Now, Devon was asked to publicize all of that information because the snake, as he's been described by the people he works with, he's been on a tear. And people are so frustrated and so concerned that they said, hey, Devon, you're a credible guy. You're doing this show with Duke, another credible guy that people are going to pay attention to when things get put out. We want you to put this out. So that's what we did. And it spread like wildfire. Next thing you know, you have the humanoids. They assembled like the Bad News Bears. And of course, with their leader, Paywall Jesus is what I call him, Sean Ross Sapp, a guy who I take nothing away from the fact that I think he's a very talented person. I think when he's focused on his business, he is a talented guy, especially when he's reporting on MMA. I've always enjoyed his MMA work. But unfortunately, based on my interactions with him, based on what I've observed, based on what I've researched, based on all the data that people have given me, I think this is a highly dangerous, unstable person who cannot control himself emotionally. And as such, whenever Sapp feels like he needs to attack, he doesn't just do it by himself. He gets his army of bots and fake accounts, and they all jump on it. So that's what they did with this, talking crazy to me about something that at the end of the day, Devon made it abundantly clear. This is not his opinion. This is what people have told him, and he's just putting it out there because that's what they wanted.
Right.
Simple as that. The guy's a snake. Now, let me ask you this. Is it hard to believe? Is it hard to believe that the boss's assistant who comes in, who has no experience in your industry, but he comes in and he's bossing you around? Is it really hard to believe you can't find people in there who don't like the guy and don't like the fact that they got to take direction from this inexperienced goofball? I mean, come on.
No, I mean, it makes such perfect sense. And the other thing is that he's like an outsider, he's a guy who wishes he could be in the business. We're seeing it now, man. We're seeing some of the wrestling media guys, they're getting in the ring. Sapp himself, he gets in the ring. Okay, he donates it to charity. Great, amazing, whatever. But we're seeing it, man. A lot of these guys are starting to like indulge in themselves and they want to be part of the business. I get it. So if you're a guy who comes from like writing for the sheets or doing a pod, like you or I, a podcast or a radio show, whatever, and then you get the opportunity to go cut promos, or maybe, hey, I get to tornado DDT or clothesline a guy, or I get to maybe do it, take a bump, or I get to maybe just being involved and having like an influence. You know, I think that's what happened to Meltzer too. He believed he had like an influence over everything, and I think it just sort of it changes the way some of these people do things. That also, like when you're a gatekeeper like Sapp, it's not good to be like attacking people over things like this. And when it comes to Will Washington, like it wouldn't shock me that he would get into a high position in AEW and then like want to throw his weight around or want to be like, yeah, I'm a big part of this thing. He's like excited. Like, I'm a mark. I would love to have $1 billion and have my own wrestling fed. I would love to have Will Washington's job for sure. But objectively, being Batman, I always say be Batman. Just take yourself out of it, you know? Take a look at everything. Just be a detective for 1 second. And it's just like, objectively speaking, no, it's not shocking at all that a guy like Will Washington would come in, rub people the wrong way. Because, you know, it makes the most absolute, utter most sense that that's a real thing that would have happened. And that's not even an indictment on Will Washington. Let's say me, if I wasn't self-aware enough, and let's say me, I worked my way into an office job as Tony Khan's assistant. You have to know that you're going to rub people the wrong way just automatically based off that, let alone someone like Devon saying, you know, I see him bopping around as you described it, right? I see him bopping around as like, I'm this important dude among all of these people, right? I refer back to like Dave Meltzer. He thought he could just sit down with Booker T at the fucking Jericho cruise. Thought he could just sit down with his lunch tray at the table and be one of the boys. And I'm not saying like we can't, you know, it's just, it's different. Whether if you're one of the boys or you're one of the media, you have to have the self-awareness to know the separation between the two. And I think, I don't know, someone like Will Washington, as they would say, I guess he worked himself into a shoot, brother. Like, now you're really a dude. It's not just like your fantasy booking on your podcast and you're like reporting on wrestlers that you admire and shit. Now you're like in control of their destiny and their fate. And yeah, I could absolutely see more than likely that this would be real by all accounts. And it baffles me. And I know I'm ranting and raving here, but it's just, I'm passionate about this. Like, it baffles me that people attack you for just listening to Devon Dudley, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, the greatest. And people are really, these dirt sheets are going to sit there and be like, no, us and our friends know better. Fuck you, and come after anybody who speaks ill of like our buddy and stuff. I think that shit's crazy. And even Devon's like, I'm not saying anything about him. I'm just saying what other people are saying about him. So why would he make that up? You know, it's crazy. Sorry, I just went off there, but
no, you took the words right out of my mouth, and you're absolutely right. And this is a coordinated thing that Sapp and the folks at Fightful and who are part of it. I call it cyber terrorism to a strong degree, because it's coordinated efforts to attack, discredit, and bring harm to people who they disagree with. Sapp turned the whole thing into, you let Devon say these things about Will Washington. Let me tell you something. Devon Dudley is a grown man with 7 kids and a wife. And, you know, he's made millions of dollars in his lifetime. He's a television star. He's a legend in his industry. He's a Hall of Famer. You think I could let him do anything?
no,
How do I?
dude.
I'm not his daddy. Like, how am I going to let him do anything? He's a grown man. So just the whole nature of that is ridiculous. And I keep bringing up Sapp for those of you who don't understand the connection. Will Washington, his last job before AEW was being a podcaster under Fightful's banner. So this is all connected. And again, if you cross one, you're going to deal with all of them. And that's just the way it is. I'm going to tell you right now, and I told Will directly because he jumped in my inbox. I did invite him to come on the show and express himself if he wanted to. I didn't. People were saying let him tell his side of the story. I don't think there's a side of the story to tell. Your people you work with, they don't like you. I mean, what side of the story could you have to that? But I
Well,
gave.
maybe he could be oblivious to it, and maybe he's like, "Damn, I really didn't take a step back and go, fuck, I'm, sorry, you go ahead. I got to, like, I love to give people the benefit of the doubt. So let's just say he lacks self awareness. Sorry, Duke, you go ahead.
Well, this is what I said because he sent me a very nasty response. You don't have a platform. It wouldn't benefit me to be on your platform, and he said something ridiculous. He said he could fart in the wind and he'll draw more people than coming on my show, which is just embarrassing to say to anybody, quite frankly. You take a look at who's been on my show. You think they're coming on my show just for the hell of it? There's got to be a reason for that, folks. But anyway, I told him, I said, look, hopefully what was said about you is just a misunderstanding by the people you work with, and you can clear that up. If it's not a misunderstanding, it's true, then hopefully you put in the work to change the perception of you. Either way, this ain't good. You know what I mean? But I also encouraged them, make good decisions in life, pull up your skinny jeans and say no to drugs. Okay? So, because we know in AEW that there have been stories about that being a difficult thing for a lot of folks in that company to accomplish, the whole say no to drugs thing. Shout out to Tony Khan, and I hope you have laid off the kratom, because that's the reports I keep getting, is that stuff is what you've been getting wired on, and it's actually illegal in most states. But I digress on that. I think it's a complete clown show in that company because of lack of leadership, and it starts with a guy who is a trust fund baby, who is playing with real people's lives as if they're little pro wrestling action figures, and he can't understand how he continues to fail so incredibly in front of the world. This guy's talking he's going to get a 2x, 4x, 5x increase from WBD because that's how great AEW is. Jesus Christ, they can't even draw more than 800,000 people on average. How great could they possibly be? You know what I mean? It's embarrassing. You got some of these talented folks there. It's not the fault of the wrestlers.
No, not at all.
It's the fault of the leadership.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I say to Will Washington in particular, hey, brother, since you've been in that company, they've been in a toilet. Could it have anything to do with the morale in the atmosphere in that workplace that you have contributed to, where you've put people in a position where their best effort is not even possible? I'm just saying, brother, maybe you need to take a look at yourself and figure out what you can do to change things, because they've been in the toilet since you've been there. And I don't believe that's a coincidence.
Yeah, me neither, dude. And that's what I was. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I've pointed it out. I haven't gotten too much backlash. I never was like a Will Washington hater or anything. Like I follow him on Twitter, even to this day. I don't think he has me blocked or anything. And like, his opinions never pissed me off. I never thought he was like gross to anybody on X. Not that I've ever seen, or anything like that. When I heard he got hired with AEW, I was like, okay, because like, Chris Van Vliet was doing stuff with AEW early on. He's incredible. And I don't know why that didn't continue. So I'm not like totally against, people getting involved in the space and everything, but it saddens me when you have let's say a gatekeeper like Sean Ross Sapp, and it seems as though he's punching down at people. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's actually like a little much, it goes beyond like wrestling warring YouTubers or whatever we are, whatever you want to consider this media. I don't consider myself like a reporter or a media guy. I just like try to be funny, and I just talk about what interests me, and that's the world of pro wrestling. So I've had him be like, I can't wait to prove you wrong. And I'm like, wrong about what, dude? I just speculate and make jokes. Like, I'm not actually out here saying this is going to happen, then it doesn't fucking happen. Or like, when something happens, then I have the inside scoop after I told you this isn't going to happen. So that's sort of where like my gripe with him started. But then when I started getting personal DMs and people are telling me, because we have mutual friends, so people are telling me what he's saying about me to people, but I'm like, wow, I'm just not even dealing with this craziness anymore. But it is a focal point of some controversy because Soft Ground Uganda Wrestling. So how do we how do we discuss this here, Duke? Where do we start with this? Basically, their BodySlam.net posted a story about how Daniel Bumbash duped the wrestling world, and it's a very long article, but it's well worth the read. Before we dive into it, like, your thoughts on soft ground wrestling, and like, how were you covering this before? Like, you somehow got a little bit caught in the crosshairs of all of this soft ground controversy, and is that just because you had like called out Sapp and some of the Fightful folk for like going at people so hard on social media who may have thought it might have been a scam, or, you know, fishy stuff was going on?
Good questions here, and let me just start by saying, first and foremost, like you said, the Body Slam article was very well done. I give full credit to that being an amazing, detailed piece. Good job. But I do take issue, and a lot of folks take issue who know the history. I do take issue with the fact that I was not credited. And there is no way, shape, or form that article exists without the work that I initiated.
Okay. Right.
And the author of the article knows that to be a fact. The author of the article maintains they didn't like my approach to things, and good for you, but you can't deny the fact that I was the very first person in this whole wrestling media space to take a critical look at soft ground wrestling and start reporting, not putting them over, but questioning if this is a scam or not. So literally, we can go all the way back to February. And shout out to Danny G, Wicked Smart on Twitter. Danny G was the one who went to the archives and pulled up the very first episode of my show where I started talking about them, all the way in February, where I was saying there were too many inconsistencies with their claims that they're going to they have a GoFundMe that's connected to a PayPal, and the PayPal is owned by Bumbash Daniel, the guy who runs Soft Ground Wrestling. So anyone who donates to try to help Soft Ground Wrestling, the money's going directly to Boombash through his PayPal. I was the first person to say 100% something ain't right with that, because it's not possible. So I got a background in government, and I have a very good relationship with the African diaspora. In fact, over the past 20 years, a good chunk of the top leaders in Africa, at some point or another, I have not only met, but have been in global conferences with them.
Jesus.
So I'm not just some guy off the street running his mouth. I actually know what the hell I'm talking about in that regard. And full disclosure, as an aside, my very first job in media was at 13 years old. And I won an award that was actually awarded to me by Hillary Clinton, awarded to me and my peers.
Damn.
And we were honored at NYU at the Conference on Alternative Media by all the top media people at the time in the nation. I am not some guy coming off the street. Okay, folks? So you notice my temperament, and you notice the way that I talk to people. You notice how I emphasize facts. I am media trained. I am a part of media. Yeah. This was not my primary job. I put it down and I focused on government, which is my primary world there. But all of the skills combined are why I approach things the way that I do. I understand everything that I say could end up in the court of law. I understand everything that I say could be a quote. So I'm very particular about what I emphasize, what I say, what I focus on, and I make sure I get my facts straight. And by the off chance that I'm wrong, I make it a point to correct what I'm wrong about. I have no problem with admitting that I was wrong about something.
Yeah, that's
so
key.
I want to make sure that we're clear on that, because we're comparing this to the individuals that we're talking about. So GoFundMe. You cannot put money in a GoFundMe and then it goes to folks in Uganda, because Uganda is a sanctioned nation by the United States because of many things, including their anti-LGBTQ laws. Okay, so we sanctioned them. It's also a very dangerous nation, especially for people from the United States and Canada. For that reason, they are a level 3 country. You can't just go and travel there. Our State Department, in fact, recommends that you do not travel there because of the terrorism and kidnapping and things like that that go on there. They target us. So I knew right off the bat that GoFundMe doesn't actually, you can't get money if you're in Uganda out of GoFundMe. It doesn't work like that, not directly. Now, when it comes to PayPal, you can't do that either. You cannot send somebody money as an American through PayPal and they are in Uganda and have a Ugandan PayPal account. You can transfer money out of Uganda to America. You can transfer money between a Ugandan to a Ugandan, but you cannot be in the United States transferring money from a United States PayPal account to a Ugandan PayPal account because they are a sanctioned nation. Go to PayPal's terms of service, go to GoFundMe's terms of service. They show you the nations that they can operate in, and they show you the regulations. This is not my opinion. I researched it. It's a fact, but I already knew all of this because of my relationship with the African diaspora.
Boom.
Okay. This is not so the problem from the very beginning is that I was too far ahead of everybody else because this is just not stuff that they would know. And why would they know unless they had a kind of background like this?
Right.
Right. So I was able to call it out from the beginning because Danny G hit me up and he said, "Hey, Duke, I'm thinking about donating money to these kids. It looks like they want to be wrestlers and I want to help them out, but I just want to know, is it legit?" And at first I brushed it off. I said, "How the hell do I know? I don't know if it's legit." So he's like, "Well, I come to you because I know that you'll at least dig up the facts and find out." So I said, "All right, give me a second." I took a look. I saw it right from the beginning with the whole PayPal and the GoFundMe, and I knew that this was completely off. So I started questioning it. The kid, who we didn't know he was a kid at the time, who initiated the GoFundMe that raised over $10,000. He reacted negatively. He jumped.
He's like 17, right? He's like 17 years old or something like that.
Based on an article that was written by his local newspaper. Yes.
Okay.
That's what was stated in that article.
Right.
So I was talking to the individual, not knowing that this was a kid, and I was asking them questions. There was too many inconsistencies with their claims. So I told them, I said, "Listen, you're lying, and you got me wondering if this is a scam." So then I publicly posted that I think this is a scam, and here's why. So the kid said, "Explain to me how this is a scam, blah, blah, blah." At the same time, I'm interacting with Sophia V, who is a OnlyFans model, but she's also a humanitarian.
Mm-hmm.
And she is an interesting person because she is not only a United Kingdom citizen and she lives and is based in England, but she's also Ugandan. And I think she was actually born in Uganda. And she's been on my show a bunch of times. So we and her had a great relationship. Emphasis on had, because this situation completely obliterated that relationship.
Damn.
She hit me up and she says, "Hey, I want to support these guys. Can you help support them?" Because she knows if I put something out and I say it's legit, people are going to accept that because I'm a man that focuses on facts, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you feel about me. I focus on facts. So even people who don't like me, they know if I say it's cool, it must be cool. So I said to her, I said, "I think it's a scam." She said, "No, it couldn't be." And I said, "Well, why are they using a person in the United States to run a GoFundMe for them?" "Well, they're the ones who stepped up to try to help them." And I said, "I don't think these folks who can put together online videos that go viral need somebody in the United States to help them. It doesn't make sense. Something is off about this." So then I started researching, is this an even real person? Where is this person? Who is this person? Because we had no information about the person who opened up the GoFundMe. As I'm doing research based on their name that was publicly available and their state that was publicly available, I pulled up a list of 5 potential people, right, who this could be. And they were all adults. Sophia is the first one to say to me, "No, I think it's a kid." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, look at the way that they talk. It's got to be a kid. This is not an adult." So then I said to the person, I said, "Hey, are you a kid?" And they started cussing me out. "Tell me how I'm doing something illegal and explain it to me now." I screenshotted all of it, so I have all this evidence.
Damn.
And so I said, "Look, you're a kid. I can tell you're a kid. Kid, stop talking to adults. Get your parents to talk to adults. What you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is probably illegal. You're going to get in a lot of trouble." And literally, the kid cussed me out again and he blocked me. And that was the end of that. Right. So Sapp somehow, some way managed to jump on this. The thing with Sapp is that he took issue with the fact that I not only was calling out Soft Ground Wrestling for potentially being a scam, and then literally stating that I'm convinced it's a scam based on the evidence that I was able to uncover and
Right.
the lack of consistency with the way that they were answering the questions, right? The story kept changing a little too much. Once again, once we found out it was a kid, there was no more communication directly with the kid. I told him to get his parents, get an adult. Somehow Sophia must have told them that I was trying to research who was behind the GoFundMe. And Sapp took that and twisted it into I doxed the kid. Now, come on. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
You got some stranger who had no affiliation within the community stating that they're going to raise money for folks in Uganda. It's common sense to start looking up who this person is before you start opening your wallet to give it to this person. And I never found out who they were. Not on my own. I thought it was is one of 5 grown men. Come to find out it's some high school kid, right? Which was written in an article. Who doxed who? That information is all public. It was all written about who this kid was. And once we realized it was a kid, we stopped, talking to the kid and was really focused more on the fact that the adults around the kid was failing the kid. Now, we find out that the kid had a relationship with Sapp, following Sapp, retweeting Sapp boosting the kid. And then we find out Sapp is now reporting on Soft Ground Wrestling and boosting it, sharing information about their GoFundMe, writing articles about it, participating in streams to help continue to raise money for them. He was all in on trying to legitimize this thing. And I cannot speak to why he never did any due diligence. He never took a look at what they were being challenged about, because it would have been obvious to anyone with a brain, hey, yeah, that is true. There's no GoFundMe. There's no PayPal going on with Uganda. Why are you guys saying you're going to use those mediums? Then it turned into who's controlling the money. Because he was a kid, the original GoFundMe person, they had to get an adult and then sign over the GoFundMe to an adult. So they found a relative and did that. They tried to go to the bank, and the bank basically told them that they couldn't send money to Uganda. They went through every hoop and what have you to jump through. And eventually they ended up sending the money to Sophia, who, again, she's in England, so we can send money to England. And then she sent the money to Uganda because she's Ugandan. That's how they got the original $10,000 to Bombash Daniel. But it went directly to him, as opposed to Soft Ground Wrestling being a registered organization, being a nonprofit, partnering with a nonprofit. There was nothing like that. It went directly to him. And this guy, ever since, has been scamming. He's been making fake receipts. He's kept all the money. Mace and Mansoor, they spent less than 24 hours in Uganda for some stupid reason. I reached out to Mace because we actually have a family connection. Mace is from Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I have a family member that's very close with one of his immediate family members, and I reached out to Mace. I qualified exactly who I am to him.
Mm-hmm.
He responded. I said, brother, I don't know if you're still over there, but I'm concerned for your safety. So I understand if you can't do anything now, but this is a scam. Here's the information. Here's an episode I did about it. Be careful. He said, when I get back to the States, I'll reach out to you. I didn't know it was a scam. That was the last time he said anything to me. And there's a reason why. Those guys, Mace and Mansoor, got so much positive press for acting as if they're white knights that are coming in to save the poor Africans, save the poor Ugandans, that it was too much to then turn around and say, oh, yeah, we're not going to support this anymore because we don't know, it's questionable. No, they stuck with it. And that's when they did that next fundraising effort where they raised over 25,000 US dollars. And to date, they've already given them 21,000 out of that 25, at least.
Right.
The problem is they were given fake receipts at every turn, and they know it for a fact now because Mansoor put out a statement.
Right. So I have it here.
Private streams. You have it there, and please put it up if you don't mind.
Yes.
Because Mansoor, who's another scumbag in my opinion.
Oh my goodness, for real?
He took his mother's money without doing due diligence and let these goofballs claim they were going to buy a van. They didn't buy a van with his mother's money. They already had a van. And
So,
they created a fake receipt with one license plate, and then they showed a picture of a van that had a different license plate. So we were able to figure that out pretty easily. But
Jesus.
Mansoor, here's my biggest issue with Mansoor, the scumbag lowlife that he is,
Oh
because
no.
he
Not
aided and
my. Hey,
abetted
this is
anybody,
Duke.
including his mama. He aided and abetted his own sweet mom was scammed by people because of Mansoor, because he's not respectful enough of his own family to do due diligence and make sure he's protecting them. Let me tell you about this guy. He was so loud and proud on X to promote raising money for this scam. And yet, when it comes time to admit that it was a scam and apologize, he does it on the literally the lowest platform he could find, with not even 200 viewers. Right? That's where he goes to talk about, oh, I'm sorry, guys, I should have did better, and we didn't realize it, and yada yada yada. He took responsibility. Do it on X. Do it on the biggest platform that you got. You scumbag, low life bastard. You. I'm talking to you, Mansoor. I know you're listening right now. You're a scumbag. You failed everyone, including your own mother.
Hey, Mansoor, Phil Marks is a neutral party. You're welcome to come call Duke a scumbag over here too. But hey, I'm just listening. I didn't know any of this. So
he can call me whatever he wants, but I'll tell you one thing. I would never in my life allow my mother. I would never in my life allow my mother to invest in a scam. I would at least have.
But did he know it was a scam when he let
brother? He's a grown man.
Yeah.
He should have did due diligence, number one. And number two, hold on. Number two, he was tagged. He was provided all the information.
Right.
You can't say you didn't know when we can pull up all the receipts of you interacting with people trying to warn you. The guy is a lowlife. He took all the positive press because he made money. He converted that into a contract with AEW, as opposed to doing the right thing, which was making sure he wasn't defrauding people. And now, here's the kicker. We find out that Boom Bash Daniel, because I've been saying this from the very beginning, my concern is that this is tied to organized crime or worse, terrorism. Yeah. I said that from the beginning. It's well documented on my show, and I can send you all the information on that. I was saying that from the beginning. Now we find out Boom Bash Daniel's brother is in jail right now, because he's a scam artist who stole a whole bunch of money from somebody and beat them up when they challenged him on it. And he's some kind of gangster dude who may, in fact, be laundering money, not only for a criminal organization, but possibly a terrorist organization in addition. That's who his brother is.
In Uganda.
And we got videos and we got pictures. We got everything of Boom Bash Daniel standing next to his brother at press conferences and everything. It's his brother. So this is who this guy's family is. Are you really going to tell me that he's not part of that?
Man, you are dropping absolute bombs here, and man, I'm just trying to take this all in, and I didn't think Mansoor was going to be catching straight. I like him, so I didn't know that was going to come.
Anyone who treats their mother like that, I can never
you
like.
speak your truth, man. I'm not here to fucking. This is all so compelling to me, and I'm going to read Mansoor's statement, but it should be noted too in this, just in case anyone's listening and they're like, well, why, how is it a scam? Like, what are they talking about the van and stuff? So just quickly, like, basically, you know, it's like a charity scheme, apparently or allegedly. I don't know. The research is there. Read the BodySlam article, and yeah, Duke. Listen to Duke Loves Wrestling, and he's breaking it down. And he never got the credit he deserves for being the one to really blow this whole thing up. And you guys know I've been covering Soft Ground and putting it over on the show a lot, and so this is so compelling to me. But basically what went down was like, you know, oh, we need money for, let's say, facilities or something, but then they already have the facilities, or the article breaks it all down, right? And way better than I can regurgitate it. So I implore you all to do your diligence, as Duke said, and just read this BodySlam article. It takes 5 minutes. Duke just broke it down. They were sending money directly to Boom Bash, so it wasn't like it was going to Soft Ground, so you can't really... I don't know. It's just all sketchy, fishy stuff. And then Mansoor here's his statement. We got to give him his word. And Mansoor, hey, you're hearing this? You're welcome to come here and say your piece on it if you like, man. I'm a neutral party.
Explain why you took your mother's money and supported a scam, Mansoor. We'd love to hear that from you, you scumbag.
Oh, man, Duke's going. So Mansoor says, nothing we saw while we were there suggested malpractice, but I was recently sent some really concerning messages about the owner, Boom Bash. Now, Duke, what platform is this? Sorry, is this Reddit? Where is he writing this?
I think he did this on his Discord, if
Oh,
I'm not
man.
mistaken.
Okay.
I can verify that for you.
It looks
later,
like Discord. Yeah, like look at these badges down here, like the hearts and that. That looks like Discord. So
and he literally only has like a couple hundred people who follow him on there. Meanwhile, if you look at his X, he has a whole massive audience, right? Big difference.
So he says, I messaged him raising these inconsistencies, and I'm not satisfied with the answers. We sent the money in installments requiring quotes, receipts, as well as proof of purchase and delivery. The person who reached out to me said the prices don't seem appropriate to the actual value of anything other than the van. I'm kicking myself as I didn't perform the due diligence in the first place. A friend of mine recently visited over there and said there were dormitories filled with beds as well as food storage. So my first instinct is that prices were inflated so he could pocket the difference after purchasing them. I'll continue to look into this and update you guys when we can. So he's pretty much saying, yeah, like I'm assuming he just is pocketing the differences. Here are the people involved in raising the money, helping raise the money, right? And when I saw like, hey, we're raising money, content creators, even myself, I thought about getting involved in this, even though I'm sure Sapp would be like, he's not welcome. But I did, man. I'm not going to lie. You see Maven Huffman there, etc. So I don't know. I'm not saying all these people knew what was up. Evil Uno over here. Yeah, it's definitely, I understand why Sapp, to bring it back to that, I understand why he got defensive, because behind the scene, and I truly will give Sapp the benefit of the doubt, I think he thinks he got so defensive because he, behind the scenes, was working on this for a while, and him and all these people thought they were really actually doing something. Like, hell, Cody Rhodes got on TV and was like, I'm going to send you guys a ring. I
gotta make sure we're setting the record straight here. So let me back up for a second and ask you this question. Why didn't Mansoor use the same medium to promote raising money for them to post that statement?
He's embarrassed.
And I just checked his X. It's not on his X, right?
Yeah.
It's not on his X. So you gotta start there where it's like, well, so wait a second. This looks a little nefarious. You got 55.4 thousand followers on X, and you use them in order to get over $25,000 for this scam. Why aren't you using that to point out that it's a scam? So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to Sapp, there's no benefit of the doubt for him for this reason. He was warned. I'm sorry, brother. When people point out questions, you should at the very least do your due diligence and take a look at it. Right. I don't know why this Duke guy is calling them out, and I can't stand Duke. He's full of crap. But let me look into what he's saying. Even if your motivation is to prove me wrong, why wouldn't you at the very least look into it? Right?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, shit, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm just trying to crack jokes and have a good combo. I'm not even trying to break any news here. So, and I put all this shit together here myself, and I've done my homework on it too as best as I could. And it's yeah, it baffles me. It's like people cosplaying as journalists, man. I swear to God.
Yeah, that's all it is. And the biggest mistake that they make is they underestimate everyone that they don't like. And here's my thing with that. Everybody is somebody as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm not underestimating a single one of you.
Me neither.
As far as I'm concerned, we don't know who people are in real life. We don't know what their experiences are. We don't know who they're connected to. And as a result of that, you always have to give a certain level of understanding and, dare I say, respect. So even with these folks who give me a hard time, you notice I put Sapp over. I said I think he's a very talented guy.
Right.
I even got specific about what talents I admire about him the most. That's respect, right? Mm-hmm. These guys think that, oh, you don't know anything and you don't do the work. It's like, brother, I don't know what kind of media credentials you have, but we can go one-on-one and let's see who has the better resume here. I guarantee you who you think you are in this make-believe world of pro wrestling does not compare to who I am. Yeah. Right? For all these folks who talk this nonsense. And I think Sapp has started to back off from calling himself a media person. He calls himself a personality now because he knows he's not real media.
Right. So, well, yeah, when he came at me, I told him that. I was like, bro, no, Sapp. Because he's like, you owe me an apology, like in my YouTube comments and shit. And I responded to him. I was like, Sapp. I was like, no, you're CNN and I'm SNL. I'm Weekend Update. You're fucking doing the news, bro. Like that's what you can't get that twisted. You're reporting the shit and I'm reacting to it and giving my funny outsider's take on how ridiculous everybody involved is. That's the difference. And I don't know if maybe I had a part in that, but me driving that home maybe had an impact on him going, yeah, no, I'm actually a personality, because I've really intricately pointed that out for the last year on my show. Like, no, man, you can't. Dave Meltzer, for instance, like you don't get to claim you're the news and then you're just commenting. And yes, there's the op-ed piece and all of that, but I don't know. I just feel like these guys are all now shifting like, oh no, we're just having fun here too. Like we're just cracking jokes now, guys. And it's like, no, that's the wave I'm on. Like that's the thing I've been doing. I'm not trying to break stories. It's happened sort of a couple times. Like this is an exclusive you're giving me here, Duke. So I appreciate you for that. But I had to tell him, man, I was like, no, dude, don't get it twisted. Like you're the news. Everyone looks at you like you're the news, bro. And you put yourself in that position, so you can't get mad that people can't differentiate your opinions from what is the news, because you get mad if people question your news. So if we don't know, like we have to, what's the difference? You have to sort of, am I a news guy or am I an op-ed guy or am I being a funny reactive guy? You know what I mean? I chose funny reactive guy. You chose to be, you want to be legit. If I'm wrong, I'll just I'm wrong. You know, I tell everyone, don't listen to me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'll tell you guys if I know something for sure, and if I don't, then I just I either don't say it or I say it and go, I don't know, man. I'm just speculating. So I go harder on Meltzer, but they want to be these dudes who are like, no, what I say is the definitive word, and if you question that, you're fucking dumb. And then when they're wrong, it's like, well, I'm dumb. If I didn't question it, then I still look dumb. Mansoor, though, had a follow-up. He says it's still on us for not doing as much as we can to make sure the funds were spent responsibly, responsibility. And that is what we just talked about, doing your diligence. Anyways, though, Mansoor continues, I apologize to anyone who donated. If there were administrative costs, it's something we could have discussed, but falsifying receipts is extremely malicious. So again, on his Discord, your thoughts on that sort of follow-up statement to the previous one?
Well, my thoughts are the same as they've always been. You know, thanks for the apology, you low life bastard. But the fact that you couldn't put that up in front of your 55.4 thousand fans lets me know that you're nefarious. You're not somebody who can be taken seriously, and you really need to get your life together, brother, because to defraud your own mother, to allow people to do that, and you aided it. And now we're finding out that these are some pretty bad criminals on top of it. It's not just that they're fraudsters. They're also they got violent crimes going on here. We did a stream, a Twitter Spaces yesterday, hosted by Lord White, and there was another gentleman there, and I want to make sure I say his name correctly there. So give me a minute. But we did a Twitter Spaces, and some of the members of Soft Ground Wrestling jumped on and admitted that Bombash Daniel is violent, physically violent. The gentleman's name is Arthur. So Lord White and Arthur did the stream. So there's no question about the fact that we're dealing with criminality here, and the fact that Mansoor didn't care enough about his mother's money to take the time to make sure. Forget about the fact that you don't even care enough about your fans' money. That's a whole other story. You treat your own family this way. You couldn't do the due diligence, even though you were provided with the information. Same with you, the other scumbag Mace, who, in my opinion, is even worse than Mansoor, because I spoke to him, and he was part of that traveling process when he got the information initially. So you can't say he didn't know. I'm just telling you guys, man, I call it down the middle. I don't play games with this stuff. It's wrong. And if we get confirmation that there's terrorism involved and some of this money is going to, in any way, shape, or form, aid and abet terrorism, whoa, I am going to tap dance all over all of these folks in that regard. I am going to scream it out at the loudest possible peak I could scream it out at. Okay, I want Homeland Security to know that these are the bastards who helped support this crap, because again, you were provided the information. You were warned about this, and you still went forward with it. I have no sympathy for that. There's something wrong with that. And you should not. And the ironic part about this is we have Mansoor on his page right now. He's still putting out other types of fundraising efforts. Don't you think he should take a break from that since he doesn't know what the hell he's doing? Why is he still highlighting other fundraisers? This guy is a lunatic, right?
Yeah.
And then Sapp, don't get me started on this. All he had to do was apologize, and he's afraid to do that because it. And you got his statement up there. I'll let you read it in a second. But the fact that he would not apologize to all his followers that he deceived because he knew it was a scam, he was provided the information, and he chose to just ignore it. He's wrong too.
Well, it's not just Sapp. So I think I have another statement from a gentleman from Fightful. So Pro Wrestling Counselor has been all over everybody's asses. Pause with this one too, just on X since the article dropped. But he says, since you refused to look into it, people gave their hard-earned money, likely the little they have, to something they felt was making a difference. These funds embolden abuse of a minor talent you have, etc. And because Corey Brennan of Fightful tweeted out, a lot of people on here are weirdly determined to prove SGW is some elaborate scam. You know, this Corey Brennan dude, fucking some of the worst takes ever, obviously just goes with what he's supposed to, says what he's supposed to say. So, I'm showing that to just highlight, there was multiple accounts, obviously some of them Fightful oriented, who were tweeting out in defense of like, no, this isn't a scam. But then this BodySlam article drops basically confirming everything you said, but they took all the credit because they, quote, don't like how you did things. What, said the truth? I don't understand these motherfuckers, man. But anyways,
well, hold on. I'll give you another exclusive that I've never made public.
Okay, let's go.
So the author of that article that we keep telling everyone to read at BodySlam, he posted. A mutual friend of ours tried to connect us, and he declined to connect, which is okay. That's his choice. But we know that he knows about my work related to this, and he used some of it. It's a fact. There's no question about that. And I was the first to document all this stuff on my show. BodySlam, as soon as Sapp started piling on and getting upset because I said he owed everybody an apology, BodySlam actually blocked me on X.
Oh, man.
Their main account actually blocked me. Now, what would you block me for? Because I put them over. I said it was a great article. Yeah. Everyone should read it. It was listeners who jumped in and said, why didn't you guys credit Duke? That's Duke's work. He started this. What are you doing? Whatever, right? But they blocked me. Now, here's the funny part about it. This is the best part. Within 10 minutes, I was unblocked. These goofballs have no idea the relationships that I have, including in their own organization. Do you understand that in this community, how many people I help, even people who outwardly trash me? If somebody comes to me and says, Duke, can you help me get in touch with so-and-so? Duke, I have a question about this. Can you help me with that? Hey, I need some advice on it. I don't care who you are. Yeah. I'm not the kind of person that won't take a moment to give somebody a hand, because that's my purpose in life. I'm here to help others. That's what I'm going to do, whether I like you or not. It's not personal for me. So ironically, somebody who I have a very good relationship with at BodySlam, they literally unblocked me immediately in protest of me being blocked in the first place, because it wasn't right. You're blocking me because you're getting called out for not crediting me. But again, Sapp has influence over all this nonsense. That's what it is.
Yeah, Fightful. Sapp blocked me, and then Fightful outright blocked me too. The whole Fightful. I'm not even allowed to read the news, according to him, bro. So that just shows like I'm telling truths, because you don't get that triggered unless you're hearing the truth and you just don't want to accept it, Like it's that simple, Why aren't I allowed to read the news, Sean? You know what I mean? I don't hate Fightful. I don't even hate you, bro. It's just fucking, we just don't get along. You don't like that I call things how I see them. You know what I mean? It's that simple.
Imagine how illegitimate your news organization is, where you think that it makes sense to block people as a news body.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
It's crazy.
As a news body, you're going to block people when literally, whether people like you or not, they're talking about you and they're sharing your content. It's only a plus. There's no negative behind the chatter around Fightful as a company. You know what I mean? But the fact that these folks are so emotionally invested in who they like and who they don't like, that it's downright mania, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and it's dangerous. I'm
Dude.
going to keep saying it. It's dangerous.
Dude, he was commenting under my YouTube clips with the Fightful YouTube account, man. Like
Yeah.
bro, that's the fight. Imagine like MSNBC is fucking. No, I'm not
Ridiculous.
I'm not saying there's legit, but that's how people view them. They view them as the news, right? So it's like imagine like fucking MSNBC's under your shit being like, "No, shut the fuck up, idiot. I can't wait to prove you wrong," and shit. It's like,
It's amazing,
dude,
bro.
it's crazy. It's like, it's so funny. So here's Brad Shepard unleashed. Now, again, guys, I have to say this or else people are going to be like, "Oh, you fuck with Brad Shepard?" Brad Shepard says unhinged, crazy shit. He's back now, I guess, from wherever the fuck he was.
Well, hold on. Table that for a second. I'll tell you where he was.
Yeah.
Sapp and his crew got Brad's previous account shut down after they doxed him, harassed his elderly mother, harassed his wife at her job, after they sent a box of shit to his house, literally a box of shit.
That's crazy.
So Brad said that he's concerned for the safety of himself and his family, and that if anyone ever approaches him, he will stand his ground and he'll do what he has to do. And somehow, some way, they used that statement, that tweet, to get his previous account shut down. It wasn't that he left. These folks got him out of there. That's what happened.
Oh, dude, I thought he got banned because I thought he got like deleted off X because he just says crazy shit, you know? Like I've heard him before with like
Everyone said, but
Billy
how many
Bully
people
and
say
they-
crazy stuff?
I know.
But hold on X, how many? There's porn on X. I mean, come on.
You're
You know
right.
what I
You're
mean?
right. No,
Everybody
you're right.
says
Hey, I don't make the rule. I'm just
No,
saying. I thought
it was
he was
targeted.
saying like wild shit. You know, like I've heard him go on rants before where I'm like, I don't know. I thought he was like tweeting, you know, whatever. So I didn't know about that. That's
if that
insane.
were possible, then Sapp would have been gone a long time ago.
That's crazy if they sent dude a box of shit, dude. That's insane.
No, it's a fact. It's a fact. You could get Brad Shepard on here, and he'll give you more details. But the worst part is Sapp's little.
It's just wrestling, guys. It's not that serious.
Buddies.
Wow, wowzers.
Sapp's little buddies actually bragged about it on their own pages. They bragged about doing it, which is the craziest part about it. So it's not like they're trying to hide it.
Well, Brad says, unfortunately, this is an example of why you can't trust Sean Sapp's work. Sean is aware that Duke was the original voice in media who publicly exposed the situation. Shout you out, bud. He was perfectly willing to sacrifice his journalistic integrity and ignore that because of personal differences with Duke. I don't know. I don't even know what to expect from people. Like, it's not like I am sitting here going, oh, he needs to apologize or else whatever, right? Like, it didn't come to no concern to me. To me, I was like, the whole time I thought, dude, I don't know. It could be a scam. I don't know. I thought if Fightful and Evil Uno and all the people I showed you, Maven Huffman, and all of them were raising money, I thought for sure the diligence would have been done about the money getting there. You pretty much broke everything up. This is crazy. This is all, I'm just trying to digest this all. And basically, I do believe a majority of these people, let's say, believe they're doing the right thing and just donating money to a good cause. And even Cody Rhodes was on TV going, I'll send them a ring and stuff. And you would think that through all of these big personalities that someone would have done their diligence and figured out a legit way to get the money there or whatever, right? Now, I don't know. As far as like the terroristic side and all of the, you know, I have to dive deeper into it, I guess, to get a better understanding of all of that. But I do think at the least, Mansoor, you're absolutely right, should have went on his X and shed light on this. And I do think Sean should, well, he just goes very disappointing to hear, but something people should read in totality. So it's like, what is that insinuating, Duke? It's like, that's almost insinuating like, but like if you read the full thing, which I know most people won't, because people don't. That's the problem. But he goes like, if you read it in totality, then what? Like it sheds any wrongdoing from people. Like, you know, Duke, you said it. You made people aware of this. They should have looked into it further, for sure. I don't know, but BodySlam did great work here. Even though he knows, you know, you had brought this all up. So again, it just seems very disingenuous. I'm just calling it like I see it, man. And he says, I've been asking around for the last month or so. Okay, maybe you were as well. Hopefully I can share what I've learned and the kids there still have an outlet for creativity. I agree, but hopefully you can share what you've learned. Why didn't you share what you were made aware of beforehand, right? Like, am I following the timeline correctly? Like, these people should have known and should have been saying something if they were going to say anything. No?
Absolutely. And the fact
Yeah.
that he would not question it at the very least and say,
Right.
hey, there's some inconsistencies here with
Right.
soft ground.
Or put a
He should have
hold
put
on
that
it.
on his own page.
Yeah.
So again, but Sapp is one of the people that boosted. Here's my issue with him as it relates to this. Why are you as a media person not doing due diligence, number one? Because the majority of the people who donated, they're going off the back of your reputation. They believe that you would make sure it's legitimate, which is why you're supporting it. So that's the assumption that was made, and people have stated such. So there's issue number one. And issue number two, why are you soliciting your audience for these types of things in the first place? Why would you do that? You're the media. Just cover the news. It's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
It's because,
You know what
yes, they have that disconnect. I tried to highlight it earlier. Like, there's some sort of disconnect there because it's wrestling and there's no actual, like, tape, if you will. There's no, like, measuring stick of what, as you pointed out earlier, credential wise, and like they've worked themselves into shoots, like I get it. But yeah, it's like report news or be a YouTuber trying to raise money for people. I don't know, man. It's this is all just such a mess,
You didn't know what you were getting into having me on this show, bro.
No, I love this though. This is one of the greatest PWT podcasts we've ever done, man. So, Sean, I was just going to read what you put here, or you can read it if you'd like. You want to read it in your own voice while you're here?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure. So this is from August 8th. I tweeted out. First of all, I quote tweeted what Brad said, which quote tweeted Sapp, or at least he screenshotted Sapp. So I said, Sean Ross Sapp owes each and every single person in the community an apology. He boosted this obvious scam and tamped down talk of it being a scam. How many people donated because Sapp and Fightful made it appear safe to do so? Should you trust your money with them going forward?
it's a great question. It's a great
This guy unleashed fury on me after that. He went completely nuts because I cut too close to the bone.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You can't look at this objectively and then say that my statement is incorrect because I'm asking questions, right? That's the other thing that I think they have a problem with. I'm not coming to as many definitive answers as it may appear. A lot of these things I'm asking questions. Should you really be doing this, given these facts, right? They don't know what to do with that. But here we go again with being media trained. Imagine that, right?
Yeah. I will say, like, him unleashing, he may have felt as though what you're saying is sort of an attack on his livelihood. Like, don't give Fightful money. And to him, he may obviously take. People say, "Oh, it's just business and stuff," but like obviously, business is personal. And maybe
now you just mischaracterized me.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that's how I feel may have interpreted that. I'm not saying that at all.
But hold on. But it's not about what you say or
Right.
interpretation. What did I say? I asked the question, should you do this?
Exactly.
Should you give the money? So it's not even like I'm telling people to do it or not do it.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, should you do this?
Exactly.
So, and that's on purpose, by the way. So I understand how people could run the other way and make their own narrative out of it.
Right.
But I'm purposely asking the question as opposed to giving direction or making a definitive statement, because at the end of the day, it's your money. You make your own decisions on what you're going to do with it. But the fact that he got so upset about a question, it just shows further how guilty he really is, because he knows that what I'm saying is true.
Right. It's what you said, cut to the bone, Yeah, because when it's real, it makes you feel, you know what I mean? And it's I always say on the show, reels over feels. But yeah, man, you just dropped absolute bombs about this whole situation, and I hope the listeners enjoyed that as far as just an inside deep dive. I don't know. You dropped many exclusives, and this was a very controversial show. but I appreciate you coming on. Like, I really appreciate you doing this and taking the time to sort of dive deep into all of this. I feel it's something that there should be more light shed on. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just thank you very much for being here.
Hey, listen, it was my pleasure. I am a fan of Pro Wrestling Times. I think you
Let's
do a
go.
great job. You're a professional, which I appreciate. Even though you, like you said, you're having a good time here, but you carry yourself professionally far better than a lot of these other folks. Duke Loves Wrestling on Facebook, on Twitter, Duke Loves Wrestling at gmail.com, Duke Loves Wrestling on all of your major podcast platforms. I'm going to continue to update this. We also have Devon and the Duke on that same feed, so there'll be more information from Devon as well about all different types of things, so stay tuned. But again, Pro Wrestling Times, folks, continue to support this platform. They're doing it the right way.
Thank you.
I can't wait to come back.
Man, I gotta have you on sometime too, where we're just like laughing at Meltzer and like headlines and stuff like that too. You know what I mean? And maybe me, you, and Marie can do something like next week or something like that. And yeah, we could just do more where we're playing flutes and just laughing at some stuff because we got intense and heavy on this one. But I had an absolute great time, and I just appreciate you being willing to like open up and share all of that. And I'd love to come do like one of your shows or both your shows sometime if you'd ever have me. I don't know if that's something that interests you, but man, you're welcome here anytime. You're welcome to join me on live streams anytime. And with that being said, guys, at Pro Wrestle Clips on YouTube and everywhere on social media, or pardon me, at Pro Wrestle Times on social media, at Pro Wrestle Clips is the main YouTube channel, and Duke Loves Wrestling, Devon and the Duke. We'll see you guys in the Upside Down. Peace.